Before I get started with this video, I just want to thank Tempest for letting me use his scale for the Sonic cosmology. Go check out his channel, the link will be in the description, and drop a sub for him if you want to. Hello everyone, CJ here, and in today's video I am going to be explaining why Sonic vs Goku isn't close at all. This topic has been on my mind for a little while ever since I started power scaling, and I even made a few shorts talking about this topic. But those shorts are kind of outdated at this point, and I have gotten much better at power scaling since then. And also, one last thing before I start the video, thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. I honestly never thought I would make it here, but with your guys' support I was able to achieve this goal. And if you guys want to support me, please consider subscribing if you want to. Now, you don't have to, obviously, but I'd really appreciate it if you would. Anyways, let's explain why Sonic vs Goku isn't close. Now, I'm going to start with Goku since I have scaled Sonic in the past. For Goku's AP, we have his infamous feat of his clash with Beerus during the Battle of Gods arc. This clash was so strong that it was sending shockwaves all over the universe and was even reaching the Kaioshin realm, which is separate from the Universe 7 macrocosm. Now, the Universe 7 macrocosm was stated in guidebooks to be infinite in its size, with statements like Hell being a larger plane than Heaven, and Heaven being near infinite or infinite in its size. This feat on its own would be low multiversal to low complex multiversal, depending on where you scale stuff like the Afterlife, Hell, etc. Now, anyone who would scale above this version of Goku, or Super Saiyan God Battle of Gods Goku, would automatically qualify for the multiversal to complex multiversal ranges of power. This would include someone like Golden Frieza, who literally Goku needed to turn Super Saiyan Blue to actually rival. Then we also have Infinite Zamasu later on in the story, who was literally taking over Trunks' timeline and was even seeking into the future, as we stated that he sensed a power that is unlike anything before, or is just different than any other power, which at the bare minimum should be multiversal to high multi. And if you're choosing to choose the high end, which is if you want to believe that Goku is 5th dimensional after Battle of Gods, then this would be somewhere between complex to potentially even high complex. Then we also have Jiren during the Tournament of Power, who was stated to be Goku's strongest opponent / enemy at that time. Even if you were to say that Goku doesn't scale to Jiren, he should obviously scale above Jiren at this point due to his training in the Granola arc. Spoilers if any of you all haven't seen it. So Goku should obviously reach the complex multiversal ranges of power. Then we also have Broly, who on numerous occasions in promotional guides, guidebooks, and even statements in the movie itself, Broly was Goku's strongest opponent so far. So Goku's AP, if you choose to believe that he's not 5D after Battle of Gods, would obviously just reach 5D, would be low complex. But if you choose to believe that he is 5D after Battle of Gods, then he could obviously just reach the high complex ranges of tiers due to not only his AP, but also his multipliers that he gets. Now, I am aware that there are scans that Bulma is stating that there is an edge to the universe. However, this is just blatantly wrong, as Jocko even had to correct her on this statement, or just downright just deny this statement. And even then, there isn't that many claims that the Universe 7 macrocosm isn't infinite, other than this scan right here, which obviously shouldn't be taken to hyper-literal. So for a recap on Goku's AP, his lowest would be multiversal to high multiversal, and even low complex multiversal even. However, if you choose to believe that he is 5D after Battle Gods, it could range anywhere from complex multiversal to high complex multiversal. High complex is a highball, and you could choose which one you want to believe. I personally choose low complex multiversal currently. However, I'll leave this up to you guys in the comments. Now, for Goku's speed, there are 3 ways you could interpret it. The first one would be infinite speed. In the Granola arc, spoilers if you haven't seen it already, Goku states that Granola is using a technique that is faster than instant transmission, which at the bare minimum should be infinite speed, since it is unknown how faster it is than instant transmission, and since that they are still within Universe 7, this would be considered an infinite speed feat. And since later on in the fight, both Goku and Vegeta are still able to fight on par with Granola, this would give Goku infinite speed. Even if this wasn't the case, we then also have Gas using this exact same technique while he isn't even powered up. And since later on in the arc, Goku would then gain TUI, which required another power-up by gas to actually overcome. This would make Goku as a low ball infinite speed. Now for immeasurable speed, we could scale Goku off of his time skip. His time skip in both the anime and manga was stated that in that area, it was completely just stopped time. Goku in Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 or Super Saiyan God was able to break through this time skip with just his sheer power alone, which would then make him immeasurable speed. Even if you were to just disprove this or just downright just don't agree at all, Jiren, who at that time is stronger than that version of Goku, was able to still walk while Hip was using his time skip, or at least trying to use his time skip on him, and just completely just broke out of it with just his sheer power alone. This is then also proved when Vado states that Jiren just transcends space and time itself. And no, this does not mean that he just transcends time and space with just his sheer speed, or just his speed. This just means that his raw power just transcends time itself, since Jiren is still bounded by age. This was then later proven by Vados, who is only talking about his raw power alone. Now for inaccessible speed scaling, it really just depends if you just want to take it at face value. But when Zeno destroyed Future Trunks' timeline, we see him floating in a timeless void, or white void I should say, and Goku in both the anime and manga was shown physically moving in this void, which is the void of time, which is the timeline that Zeno destroyed. Now, I don't care if you just want to take this at face value. I'm just personally bringing this up just in case anyone just wants to use it at all. So, in conclusion, Goku's speed at the lowest should be infinite, and Goku's speed at the highest would be immeasurable speed. So now that I've gotten his speed out the way, let's talk about his hacks and abilities. Now Goku isn't really known for being a hacks person, so his abilities we will just mainly talk about. Now obviously the most obvious abilities that Goku has access to is his Super Saiyan transformation. Yes, forms equals abilities, which we all know should be the regular Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 3. Which Super Saiyan 1 being a 50 times multiplier, Super Saiyan 2 being a 100 times multiplier, which then means that it is a 100 times multiplier off his base, and Super Saiyan 3 being a 4 times multiplier off of Super Saiyan 2, which would be a 400 times multiplier from his base. Now with Super Saiyan God, it is unknown how high of a multiplier it is, but it should be slightly higher than a Patara fusion, since Goku states that he doesn't even know if it was enough or if fusion was enough that to beat Beerus. Now I'm just gonna say this because I'm just gonna say my personal opinion on that. I personally think that this was just Goku overreacting to Beerus' power, since this is also the same Goku who thought that Beerus was the strongest being in existence. It's just a post-Buu Saga Goku is obviously stronger than his Super Saiyan 1 Vegeta, with it being the same for Vegeta. We could just say that a hypothetical Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta post-Buu Saga can at least put up a good fight against Beerus, although he wouldn't win. I'm not trying to say that a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is stronger than Super Saiyan God Goku. I'm just saying that they could at least put up a good fight against Beerus. Although that is just my personal opinion, so you guys could disagree if you want. Anyways, in the manga, Goku during the Future arc was shown using Hakai against Fused Zamasu, and well, that's really it for Goku's hacks and abilities. So now that I have gone over everything about Goku, let's move on to the Blue Hedgehog himself, Sonic. Before I get into Sonic's AP, I'm first going to scale Sonic's cosmology, or use Tempest's scale for the cosmology, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how strong someone like Solaris really is. Now, like I said, this is the part where I use Tempest's scaling for Sonic's cosmology, so if it just sounds like a complete copy and paste, then that's probably why. Like I said at the beginning of the video, he allowed me to use his scaling for the cosmology, so don't try to come at me for plagiarism or whatever the hell. Anyways, let's get into it. The Archie-Sonic and Sonic cosmology was stated to contain infinite multiverses within it, with things like the imaginary world was stated to have infinite dreams within it, all being noted that with their own individual universes and infinite possibilities and infinite concrete universes. As well, Sonic would then get Amp by that of the Pressure Stone, which is above that of the base Sonic universe, which would now make the cosmology at the very least 5th dimensional. We also know that the Pressure Stone was also at its strongest, as we know that the Pressure Stone still gets weaker as it's split into many other Pressure Stones and loses its power. We then have the Chaos Force, which was stated to be a higher plane of dimensional existence, which would now make the verse 6th dimensional and far of that above the aforementioned power cap. Sonic then, after acquiring all these amps, would then gain power and acquire the Chaos Emeralds, and was then able to destroy the entire Archie Sonic universe in cosmology and hierarchy, making Sonic at the very least 6th dimensional. This is then further supported as within the Japanese version of the game. It is stated that Sonic Wild Imp with the Chaos Emeralds has both infinite strength and speed. For those who still doubt the 4th to 6th dimensional scaling for Sonic, we have Solaris, who has dominion and governed both time and space, and all of his attacks simultaneously alter the past, present, and future. Even Ian Flynn, which is the creator of the Archie Sonic universe, states that there are infinite multiverses and dimensions in the Sonic cosmology. If you want to go further with the higher extralons of power, we know that the Chaos Control is a haxs that is beyond dimensionality, since it could warp the concept of space and time within the verse. Dimensional travels is one of the uses of Chaos Control, and X Sonic is part of Archie Sonic's multiverse. With one Harmony Chaos Emerald, Chaos Control can bend the rules of reality, cheat them, and so on and so forth. The Super Genesis wave, which is being powered by the Chaos Emeralds, so the Emeralds have no limit. Chaos Control is stated to have a more direct way of turning your dreams and thoughts into power, giving them a form of subjective reality manipulation. For those who are still in denial, it's stated by Dr. Eggman, who is one of the smartest within the verse in comics, which came before the games, that a base Sonic is the embodiment of chaos, meaning that any feat Chaos has or does, Sonic would automatically scale to. Even the aforementioned Chaos Imaginary World feats, as once again, the Archie Sonic cosmology is home to infinite multiverses within it, and also holds that of the Imaginary World, which has infinite dreams and universes within it, meaning Sonic can destroy sets of infinity or alpha nulls at a win. Now, I'm going to make this very clear for anyone who thinks that this is just a mid-an or an accurate version for Sonic scaling. This is a ridiculous lowball, and I can even get Sonic up to 12 to even 20D at a mid-end or even a low-end if anything. However, I'm just using this, or just going to keep it at here for now, because, well, I don't want my boy Goku to suffer, especially since he's going up against Sonic, so yeah. Anyways, now if we've talked about his cosmology, let's get into his AP finally. For Sonic's AP, we can scale him off of Solaris. Solaris, in numerous data books, was stated that he was going to destroy the concept of space and time, which includes the past, present, and future timelines. On top of that, we also know that it was stated that Solaris was also a superdimensional being, and Sonic was able to beat Solaris in the present timeline, which should make Sonic's AP at the bare minimum 5th dimensional or low complex multiversal. Then we also got Infinite, who was not only stated by Eggman himself to be Sonic's strongest opponent so far, but it's also stated on the official Sonic website that it is in fact his strongest opponent so far. Now, if you just want to take a guess and just means that he's 1 tier above Solaris, which would mean that he's around 6th dimensional complex multiversal, then a base Sonic from Sonic Forces should obviously scale above the Solaris, making him at the bare minimum 6th dimensional. Then we also have the Death Egg robot from Sonic Forces, was also stated to surpass Infinite, making a base Sonic at this point 7th dimensional. And even if you were to say that base Sonic at that time doesn't scale to Infinite, or at least not fully, since a base Sonic in Frontiers should obviously be above a Sonic from Sonic Forces, then this should mean that Sonic in his base form currently should possibly even be 8th dimensional, if you want to argue that. Now, there is also scaling to get Sonic to Outer if you want to take the Eggman Salamander statement at face value and just assume that they create a realm that just transcends all dimensions, which in itself would be Outer. So this is more of a high end if anything. However, I'm just mentioning it just in case anyone just wants to use it. Now, I want to clear some things up before I move on to Sonic's speed. And I'm just going to mention this just in case anyone tries to argue. A huge reason why people don't think that Sonic would scale to Solaris at that point in time is because he, quote, needed help to defeat Solaris, end of quote, and also this statement in this guidebook. First of all, on the needing help part, it should be blatantly obvious that Sonic, Shadow, and Silver were both fighting in their own timelines. As although it wasn't stated that he was cloned across the timelines, it was still stated that he existed in those timelines, meaning that there would be 3 Solarises in those 3 different timelines. For context, just to kind of make it a bit easier to understand, Sonic had to 1v1 Solaris, Shadow had to 1v1 Solaris, and Silver had to 1v1 Solaris, and they all defeated those Solarises in their own separate timeline in a 1v1, and guess what? They scaled to him, obviously. It's still crazy to believe that people actually still buy or just completely just go with something like that, as that's like saying that if I were to fight a strong person or a dimensional being that existed in both the past and future, and I bring along my friend, then does that mean we're just 2v1ing the being? No, we're just going in our own separate timelines to 1v1 the being so we could defeat it in that timeline so it doesn't have to threaten that timeline again. Now onto the part about that guidebook, or that statement in that guidebook. This is obviously an outdated guidebook from 2006 when the game came out, and using outdated stuff for modern games is like saying I could just use a Dragon Ball Z guidebook for scaling something like Granola or Goku. And one last thing before I continue, or at least one other thing that people actually buy, is this statement of, quote, Sonic 06 route itself out of canon. And I'm just going to say this. You are a idiot if you actually believe this. Number one, this is quite literally a joke made by an official Sega member, as if this was actually a canon statement, then this would have been used all the time for when trying to debunk Sonic. The second reason being that since Blaze came from Sonic Rush, which came out in 2005, and Sonic 06 came out in 2006, which is when Blaze also appeared, then does that mean that Sonic Rush isn't canon? Like, it's so funny that people actually believe these scans. Like, it is out of this world to me. Anyways, enough about getting mad about some statements. Let's head into his speed. Now for Sonic's speed, he 100% has infinite speed, as I already shown earlier prior, the Chaos Emeralds give both Sonic infinite strength and infinite speed, which would mean that Sonic at the bare minimum has infinite speed, which is a low ball since this is also X Super Sonic, and X Sonic should at this point just be a base Sonic victim at this point. So yeah. Anyways, for measurable speed, since Solaris on multiple occasions was stated to be above that of time, then that should mean that Sonic and Solaris has a measurable speed. For a relevant speed Sonic, using the whole statement of Solaris being above time, but this time we are also taking into effect that this scan of the concept of time being irrelevant, since the Archie Sonic and game cosmology are the exact same. So this should mean that both Sonic and Solaris would both have a relevant speed. However, this is only if you want to believe that Archie Sonic and Game Sonic's cosmology are the same. However, it doesn't really matter which one you choose, as Sonic will always be faster than Goku no matter which way you choose, other than if you just choose that at the low end, which is he has infinite speed, which that would mean that Goku has equal speed to him. But now, let's get on to Sonic's hacks and abilities. For Sonic's hacks and abilities, we have him being able to use plot/fate manipulation, as he was shown able to rewrite his own story, and he was also shown being able to grab kids from the real world into his own verse, which would then add a metafictional transcendence to him, making him anywhere between 9th to even 10th dimensional. He also has chaos manipulation, as I mentioned earlier. He also has immortality type A, which can survive things like existence erasure, like the ultimate annihilator. He also has molecule manipulation/intelligibility, and many more hacks that might even get its own video if anything. For his abilities, one of his most obvious abilities should be Supersonic, Awakened Supersonic, and Hypersonic, which all give him an unknown multiplier, but since it is an unlimited multiplier, since the Chaos Emeralds in multiple guidebooks were stated to have unlimited power, you could take that for what you will. If you've made it this far into the video, I think we should all know who wins at this point. It's easily Sonic. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, Sonic just slams Goku into a wheelchair, into the hospital, with the pain and death that he got when he had the heart virus. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Dragon Ball. I like Goku in general, and I just like scaling Dragon Ball in general. But I really don't see how Goku is even going to be able to touch Sonic, especially since there's going to be a massive speed disadvantage between the two. Even if you were to say that Sonic doesn't necessarily have out-of-versal AP, which like I said is a high end, it doesn't really matter since Sonic's AP at a low ball can already range anywhere between 6th to 7th dimensional without using Solaris. So it doesn't really matter at this point, and Goku just loses, and this realistically shouldn't be a debate anymore. So, conclusion, a base Sonic wins, neg difficulty. And without all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video if you've made it that far. Like I said at the beginning and the middle of the video, I'd like to thank Tempest for allowing me to use his skill for the Sonic cosmology. And well, that's really it. So yeah, have a good day, stay blessed, and peace.